Alright, let's be honest, America loves to talk about itself. It's like that one friend who can't stop bragging about their latest achievements. You know the type. Always the loudest in the room, always the center of attention, land of the free, home of the brave, blah blah blah. We celebrate with fireworks, parades, and a whole lot of fanfare. It's a spectacle, a grand display of patriotism that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. We've got Hollywood blockbusters that captivate the world. Beyoncé, who can command a stage like no other, and more varieties of cheese than you can shake a stick at. It's a cultural smorgasbord that we proudly present to the world. From the outside looking in, America seems pretty darn good at being America. The bustling cities, the iconic landmarks, the relentless pursuit of the American dream. It's a narrative we've crafted and perfected over the years. And for a while there, things were good. Really good. The post-war boom, the rise of the middle class, the sense of community and shared purpose. It was a golden era that many look back on with nostalgia. We built stuff, invented things, and generally strutted around like we owned the place. The industrial might, the innovation, the sheer determination to push boundaries and achieve greatness. It was a time of unparalleled progress. We even put a man on the moon, which, let's face it, is still pretty cool. It was a defining moment, a testament to what we could achieve when we set our minds to it. The world watched in awe as we reached for the stars. But even the shiniest apple can have a worm or two. Beneath the surface there were cracks, issues that we either ignored or didn't fully understand. The facade was starting to show signs of wear and tear. And America, my friends, has a whole nest of worms wriggling around in its core. Social inequality, political polarization, economic disparities. These are not just minor blemishes, they are deep-seated issues that threaten the very fabric of our society. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the dream is dead. Far from it. The American spirit is resilient, and there's still a lot to be hopeful about. We have the potential to address these issues and come out stronger on the other side. But it's definitely time for a serious checkup. We need to take a hard look at ourselves, acknowledge the problems, and take meaningful action. It's not going to be easy, but it's necessary if we want to preserve the ideals we hold dear. Because here's the thing, America might be strong, but it's also incredibly fragile. The very things that make us great are also our vulnerabilities. Our diversity, our freedom, our ambition. They are strengths, but they can also be sources of conflict and division. And right now there are some serious cracks appearing in the foundation. Our infrastructure is aging, our political system is strained, and our social fabric is fraying. These are not problems that can be fixed with a quick patch job. So buckle up, folks, because we're about to dive into the things that could actually destroy America. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but it's a journey we need to take if we want to secure a better future. And trust me, some of them might surprise you. The challenges we face are complex and multifaceted, but they are not insurmountable. With the right mindset and a collective effort, we can overcome them and continue to be that beacon on the hill. Remember that whole united we stand, divided we fall thing? Yeah, someone really should have put that on a bumper sticker, because right now America is looking more divided than a pizza at a toddler's birthday party. We're talking red versus blue, left versus right, arguing about everything from healthcare to the designated hitter rule. It's like everyone forgot that we're supposed to be on the same team. And the worst part, it's not just friendly disagreements anymore, it's full-blown tribalism, where people would rather see the other side burn than actually solve any problems. This kind of division isn't just annoying, it's dangerous. It erodes trust in institutions, fuels extremism, and makes it darn near impossible to get anything done. And in a world facing some pretty serious challenges, America can't afford to be stuck in a perpetual political cage match. Here's a fun fact. Printing more money doesn't actually solve economic problems. In fact, it can make things a lot worse. When more money is printed without a corresponding increase in goods and services, it leads to inflation. Inflation is when the prices of goods and services rise, eroding the purchasing power of money. So, while it might seem like a quick fix, it actually devalues the currency and can lead to a host of other issues. Shocking, I know, but sadly, it seems like some folks in charge missed that memo. Politicians often face pressure to find immediate solutions to complex problems, and sometimes they resort to measures that provide short-term relief but cause long-term damage. It's a bit like putting a band-aid on a broken bone. America's economic engine has been sputtering for a while now, weighed down by debt, inequality, and a system that often feels rigged against the little guy. The gap between the rich and the poor has been widening, and many people feel left behind. Small businesses are struggling to survive, and many have had to close their doors for good. Homelessness is on the rise, and protests against economic inequality are becoming more frequent. We're told that the economy is booming, but try telling that to families struggling to put food on the table, or young people drowning in student loan debt. The stock market might be hitting record highs, but for many, the reality is very different. Food banks are seeing more visitors than ever, and the cost of living continues to rise. Young adults are entering the workforce with massive amounts of debt, making it difficult for them to get ahead. The truth is, the American dream is starting to look more like a fever dream for many. Homeownership, once a cornerstone of the American dream, is becoming increasingly out of reach for a lot of people. Wages have stagnated and the cost of housing has skyrocketed. Many are finding it hard to make ends meet, let alone save for the future. And when people lose faith in the system, they start looking for alternatives, which can lead to instability, unrest, and a whole lot of uncertainty. When the system seems rigged, people start to question its legitimacy. This can lead to social unrest, as people take to the streets to demand change. It can also lead to political instability, as people look for leaders who promise to shake things up. And remember that global economy we're all part of? Well, it's kind of like a giant game of Jenga. Each country is a block in the tower, and they all rely on each other to keep the structure stable. When one block is removed or starts to wobble, it affects the entire tower. The global economy is interconnected, and what happens in one country can have ripple effects around the world. America might be a big block, but if it starts wobbling, the whole thing could come crashing down. The US plays a significant role in the global economy, and its stability is crucial. If the American economy falters, it could trigger a global economic crisis. So, while printing more money might seem like an easy solution, it's important to consider the long-term consequences and work towards sustainable economic policies. Section 4, from Instagram versus reality to real-life inequality, America's social divide. Let's be real, America has always had a bit of an identity crisis. From its inception, the United States has been a land of contradictions. On one hand, we pride ourselves on being a beacon of freedom and democracy, a place where anyone can achieve their dreams. On the other hand, our history is marred by slavery, segregation, and systemic inequality that still lingers today. We're a nation built on ideals of equality and opportunity, yet we also have a long and messy history of, well, not living up to those ideals. The Statue of Liberty stands as a symbol of hope and welcome, but for many, the American dream remains just that, a dream. The promise of liberty and justice for all often feels like an empty slogan, and in the age of social media, those contradictions are becoming impossible to ignore. Platforms like Instagram and Facebook amplify these disparities, showing us a world where some people live in luxury while others struggle to make ends meet. The curated perfection of social media feeds can make the harsh realities of life even more glaring. We see perfectly curated lives on Instagram, filled with exotic vacations, designer clothes, and gourmet meals. Influencers project an image of effortless success, making it seem like anyone can achieve this lifestyle with the right filter and a bit of luck. Meanwhile, real people struggle with poverty, discrimination, and a lack of opportunity. For every influencer flaunting their wealth, there are countless others who can't afford basic necessities. The gap between the haves and the have-nots is widening, and social media only serves to highlight this divide. We see calls for unity met with increased polarization and division. Political discourse has become more toxic, with people retreating into echo chambers that reinforce their existing beliefs. The result is a society that feels more divided than ever, with little room for compromise or understanding. And it's not just about wealth or social status. The divide extends to every aspect of life, from healthcare to education to basic human rights. The quality of your life can vary dramatically depending on where you live, the color of your skin, and your economic status. It's about access to healthcare, education, and even basic necessities like clean water and affordable housing. In some communities, hospitals are underfunded and overcrowded, while in others, state-of-the-art medical facilities are the norm. Schools in affluent areas offer a wealth of resources, while those in poorer neighborhoods struggle to provide even the basics. And even basic necessities like clean water and affordable housing. In Flint, Michigan, residents still deal with the aftermath of a water crisis that exposed thousands to lead contamination. Meanwhile, in cities across the country, affordable housing is increasingly out of reach for many families, forcing them into cramped, substandard living conditions. When a significant portion of the population feels left behind, forgotten, or ignored, it creates a breeding ground for resentment, anger, and unrest. People take to the streets to demand change, but often feel that their voices are not heard. The frustration builds, leading to more frequent and intense protests. It creates a breeding ground for resentment, anger, and unrest. Graffiti on walls and social media posts reflect the anger and disillusionment of a populace that feels betrayed by the very system that was supposed to protect and uplift them. And that, my friends, is a recipe for disaster. When people lose faith in their institutions and in each other, the social fabric begins to unravel. The chaos we see in protests and riots is a symptom of deeper issues that need to be addressed if we are to heal and move forward as a nation. Section 5. Hackers, Hostile Nations, and Havoc, the World Outside America. Remember when America was basically the cool kid on the block, calling all the shots and flexing its military muscle? Yeah, those days are over. The world has gotten a lot more complicated, and America isn't the only superpower on the playground anymore. We're facing threats from all sides: hostile nations, terrorist groups, and hackers who can cripple our infrastructure with a few keystrokes. And let's not forget about climate change, which is already wreaking havoc across the globe. These external threats aren't just some distant problem, they directly impact our economy, our security, and our way of life. And if America is too busy fighting amongst itself, it won't be ready to face the challenges of a rapidly changing world.